What if I told you that limited run games isn't preserving physical games, but actually helping publishers kill them? Even worse, their forever physical mission statement has an expiration date, because LRG's future is digital. And to make matters worse, this isn't just about LRG. The same applies to IM 8-bit, strictly limited games and other niche game publishers that release physical media outside the retail channels. Yet, we are mostly ignoring this, just feeling grateful that we are getting physical copies at all. I'm PV and this is NeoRetroPixels. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the side effects of the shrinking retail market for physical games and how we have unintentionally helped major publishers move away from the physical media we love. Did this statement catch you off guard, or have you seen the writing on the wall for a while now? Let us know in a comment while we discuss these points. It's obvious that limited run games has changed over the years. What started as a small company releasing 1 or 2 physical indie games per month has turned into a major publisher, dropping multiple physical games and collector's editions every month, including titles from industry giants like EA, Ubisoft, Konami, Sega and others. And there you have it, the elephant in the room. Limited run games is not a solution, but really a symptom to a larger problem, the will of the games industry to move away from physical release. Large publishers already push many games as digital only, but even when they do release physical versions, it's often treated as an afterthought. Instead of a planned retail release, they outsource it to companies like LRG, turning what should be standard into a special event. Take a look at some of the games LRG has handled recently: Yakuza 5, Dead Space, Persona 4 The Golden, Contra Operation Galuda and several others. Even Tetris Effect, a sequel to the best-selling game of all time, got the limited run treatment, and just to add insult to injury, Tetris Effect got a standard retail release shortly after LRG's version went up for pre-order, making the wait for LRG buyers even more frustrating. Not so long ago, these gaming giants were more than happy to sell these games through retail when demand was there, and people were able to buy them at stores, often with discounts for the holiday seasons. Before, physical games were carefully planned and released to retailers. Now, we have to buy from a single vendor in a short pre-order window at a premium price, often significantly more expensive than the digital version. And it's not just the price, we also get limited purchasing options, often just one store, expensive shipping costs, optional shipping insurance. Let's not fix logistics, just pretend to care and charge more for the optional service. Long waits, sometimes months, sometimes years, for games we already paid for. Ironically, this is a Western phenomenon. In Japan, things work differently. And before we get into it, seems like you're enjoying this video, so make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. In Japan, physical media is still king because it plays a key role in the second-hand market. People buy physical copies, sell them back and get new games in the process. Most game stores in Japan thrive on used game sales, while new games are mainly sold by big retail chains like Softmap and Amazon Japan. While digital gaming has grown in Japan, physical release remains strong, and that leads us to something interesting. Many games that are limited release in the West are actually standard releases in Japan. For example, the new Pokémon Rocky and Shadow of the Ninja were available in Japan months before strictly limited games released them in Europe. Contra Operation Galuga, Magical Drop 6 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge had a standard retail release in Japan long before LRG handled them in the West. You can buy these games even now from Amazon Japan or PlayAsia, no waiting, no pre-order window, no ridiculous shipping fees. And if you think that's weird, it gets even stranger. Limited Run Games actually sells some of their own release in Japan, under a different brand. Their Super Deluxe Games label in Japan has handled Dodonpachi, Mushihime-sama and Castlevania Anniversary Collection, for instance, all of which were easier to get in Japan than in the US. Oh, and the Japanese collector's editions, they are often cheaper and better than the US versions. What the hell, LRG? At this point, I've moved away from LRG and SLG entirely. I just import my physical games from Japan and get them without the hassle. Maybe that's the solution for you too. Let me know in a comment if you're also doing it this way. But this raises a bigger question. Why are companies like EA, Konami and Ubisoft okay with giving their Western customers such a terrible experience? The answer is simple: risk aversion. Big publishers exist to make money while minimizing risk. Going digital eliminates costs like manufacturing, inventory management, distribution, and since 80% of PlayStation game sales in North America are digital, Xbox is heavily digital thanks to Game Pass, and PC has been digital only for over a decade after Steam took over, why take the risk on physical at all? Handling physical release to LRG allows publishers to make guaranteed money without the risk LRG will pay them in the end. No worries. Distance themselves from the frustration customers feel. All the hate is channeled to LRG, who has a strong following to defend them online. Keep retail space for their biggest, more profitable titles, while mid-tier games go to limited instead. It's a win-win for publishers and a lose-lose for us. And that brings up a bigger issue. Why are we still going along with this? Well, it's because we are fine with that. We tell ourselves, at least these games aren't digital only, so we don't feel guilty to going with a lesser evil. LRG is preserving games. It even sounds noble, like we are part of the resistance. What if I miss out? And you're encouraged to not miss out, because they don't keep overstock. But in reality, we are just feeding into a system that makes physical games more expensive and harder to get. They get into our instinct, so we don't react logically. Limited run games start when Mighty Rabbit Studios realized that there was demand to get out a physical copy of their game Breach and Clear for the Vita. With that, they set up a business to print games in limited quantities and sell them directly to customers. To minimize risks, they were selling these games before ordering them from Sony and shipping from their warehouse once they got the games to avoid the retailers. The model worked quite well, and LRG started to publish games from other studios, and that's where the problems started. As they looked to increase their sales, they changed their model to an open pre-order system, which helps them gauge demand for the release. Instead of guessing and missing out cash on the table, they just sell as much as they can to hungry gamers and collectors. This removes the risk and maximizes their profits, but also opened the door for big publishers to offload mid-tier release to them. On top of that, they also started partnering up with selected retailers that would also order games from them. All along, we were pretty much fine with that. We were getting our physical games and we were happy. But now, we start to realize that the model is not giving us enough. But it's too late to complain. Games that we would normally get through retail are now stuck into a business model that makes games hard to get, unless we pay a premium and get them at the right window of opportunity, or agree to pay an even greater premium to scalpers on eBay. And that's what's helping speed up killing games on physical media. For people wanting to play the game, what's the benefit of paying a premium to wait months to get a physical game release? Why not going digital for a lower price point and immediate access instead? Quite frankly, there's no benefit to the LRG business model for gamers over digital release. Games are less expensive, there's no shipping cost, and most importantly, games are readily available on the release date. Even if we prefer physical games, let's not fool ourselves. Games are cooler to play when other people are also playing them, especially games with an online component, and for niche games that long delay is the difference between enjoying the game and missing out all the fun. I've been there myself with Phantom Breaker for the Vita. The LRG release was so late that when I finally got to play the game, the online gameplay was already dead, and guess what? There was even a trophy for playing it online on top of that. This was not a serious problem for people playing the digital version when it released, but months later, yeah, some of the fun was already gone. To experiment the game to its fullest, I had to find someone with the game and specifically ask them to log in, so I could at least try out the battle mode and see what it was all about. Unless your goal is to have a game sitting on a bookshelf, there is no reason to wait months to play a game and completely miss out on the community aspect of gaming. Not to mention all the other issues with LRG like customer service, a business model driven by fear of missing out, the better service to store partners over customers, really expensive special editions or multiple editions with minor difference to create artificial needs to collectors. But is this enough to end physical media? Probably not now, but it's making gamers move away from them until physical media is not needed at all. The whole reason why limited games came to be was to allow people to purchase physical versions of games they were already playing or had them readily available on digital storefronts for a while. The whole preservation pitch was added as a way to make their effort noble, despite the pure business-driven decision to sell games at a premium. Or maybe this pitch got there to justify charging twice the price of the digital release plus shipping for a physical copy. It was sold as a service to the community. From a gamer's perspective, it's fine to prefer physical copies over digital. I prefer to have a disc or cartridge so I can easily have my kids playing them, or if I simply want to sell or trade it later. But when we get to the point that you have to wait months before getting your game and paying at least twice the price, are we really doing a favor to ourselves to prefer physical? In early 2022, I decided to stop buying LRG games because my list of pre-orders was ridiculous, with some games waiting to ship for over a year. It took more than 1 year and a half from that decision to clear that list of pre-orders, and that includes a game that fell through the cracks in their system. The pre-order was there, the game had been shipped for everyone, but my copy didn't move at all, until customer service checked that, yeah, they forgot to ship me the game. Nice! An extra delay to a long wait. If you do a quick math, it's easy to see why this can become frustrating. You buy a bunch of games, all paid up front, and wait almost forever to get them. When they finally get there, maybe your interests have changed and those games are not priorities anymore, or they are not as fun to play anymore because they remind you of the painful wait until you got them. So in that sense, physical media for me just makes sense if I can get the game right away. I'm fine buying an LRG or strictly limited game at a retailer or convention. I can just get home and play the game, but I'm not going to pay upfront and wait a year to get the game anymore. Now I will probably just get a digital copy on Steam or PSN and simply have fun. And that's how I believe games on physical media will die. They will become irrelevant to gamers, the people actually enjoying those games. At some point, only collectors will buy physical media, and large developers will push more and more of their content to companies like LRG, so they don't have to deal with the stress. As I said before, 80% of PlayStation game sales revenue in North America are coming from digital release, so they have all the reasons to move in that direction and get rid of retailers, and this has already happened to PCs, so it's not some catastrophic forecast. It is going to happen, it's only a matter of time. And this may beg another question from you. Isn't this bad for LRG as well? Won't they run out of business? So let's be real. Limited run's future isn't forever physical, it's forever profitable. Physical games are just part of the cash flow until they don't need them anymore. A digital-only game's future definitely takes away one source of revenue from them, but is it really over for LRG? Not really. Over the years, LRG has specialized on selling expensive special editions, gaming memorabilia, and merch. Shantae skateboards, $500 statues, premium signed vinyl albums and CD soundtracks, reissues of classic 8-bit and 16-bit games. Those are completely unrelated to new games release or helping preserve games that were trapped into digital publishing hell. And they have been selling those for years already, right under our nose. The LRG PC Games Special Editions have been sold with Steam codes, no physical game at all. Forever physical? Yeah, but that's not necessarily for physical games, as those special editions come packed with physical goods beyond games on top of a really nice box. And they have a hand in games publishing themselves, especially on bringing retro games to modern platforms through emulation, which they did with River City Girls Zero and Ninja 5.0, for instance, which are also available digitally, so they can keep selling games as they can, albeit in a digital format and collectibles that can include the eShop code. You may say this is not how they really work, but then how to explain them selling 3DO games on burned CDRs that they know wouldn't work on real 3DO consoles, or the leaked memos where the CEO explicitly said that it would be fine to sell CDRs because people are buying their games to keep them sealed on bookshelves. What's the point for a game if you are never going to play it at all? This is professional collectors' madness, only for gaming. For me, this points to a future where LRG sells only gaming collectibles and don't do physical games anymore. They already do it to an extent, otherwise they wouldn't offer reversible covers that are sold randomly, but ensuring customers that if they buy multiple copies, they would get different covers, or releasing the same retro cartridge with different random colors, but also ensuring different colors are shipped if you buy more than one copy. Their main customer are people who are collecting games, not people playing those games. In the end, the games are just an excuse in their business model. Their goal is to capitalize market speculation with every game they release to boost their sales to collectors. This is sad because they were the business that was supposed to help us get physical release of niche games to play in our consoles, but it turns out that gamers are not their priority anymore, if ever, so we better enjoy our regular physical games while we can, because LRG is making them go away faster than we wanted them to. But is there anything we can do now? There are a few options for us, gamers. First and foremost, let's enjoy those releases from publishers that still get their games through retail. Games like Metaphor ReFantazio, God of War, Super Mario Wonder and others. Let's enjoy them while they are available, with no pressure to buy them right away because we may miss them altogether. Then, for games that are not physically released in the West, how about paying attention to Japan and Asia? These games are often fully localized in this release, and it's good to get them from a place that still supports our beloved physical release. I know we can't just ask developers to move back to releasing physical games themselves, so let's just not buy those games as limited physical release. If they are not as interesting to publish through LRG, maybe some of them will be published again by their original developers. If that fails, well, I don't think I will miss the LRG release, quite frankly, as I'm consciously avoiding them altogether. How about you? Do you feel like physical games are not relevant in the market? What do you think about limited editions like LRG? Are you also getting your games from Japan or Asia, or do you buy into degraded collectors bullshit? Tell us in a comment. If you want to look further into LRG's shady business practice, Check out Moriarty's video essay. It's really good and adds a lot more to what we have discussed here. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a thumbs up, share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Your support really helps to get out more content like this. And check out the recommendations on the right side of the screen. Maybe you will feel like binge watching the channel. Hope to see you again on another video. PV at NeoRetroPixels signing off. Cheers!